Hello. I'm very disturbed by what's happening to those refugees, those people who have appealed to us for asylum and were threatened with deportation to Rwanda. I'm disappointed on many levels. I'm disappointed by the racist rants that occurred in the media against Rwanda. I'm disappointed by the assumption that the people who have come over to the UK by whatever means are therefore criminals. People who use illegal routes may not necessarily have chosen those routes themselves, therefore, they may not be criminals. Um, and the idea that we're going to attack the victims of people smugglers rather than the people smugglers themselves, well, this might deter some of the people smugglers, but it's not, in fact, um, a sound approach to justice. It's attacking the victims twice. The victims have already had a difficult time. So now the idea that we're going to tag these victims, well, in one sense, of course, I support and salute the idea of tagging people to make sure that we know where they are, to make sure that we can get hold of them when we wish to assess and review their asylum application. Great. But tagging somebody, getting them to report to police stations, putting them under curfew, this could very well be like the sort of misery that they have run away from. Some people have genuinely come to our country to appeal for asylum because they have been tortured and abused in their own home country. And as for our attitude, the Justice Secretary's attitude to removing us from some of these court agreements that we've already got, and that indeed Winston Churchill was partly responsible for setting up, these conventions and these systems that were put in place to make sure that never again will we have the sort of abuse that occurred during the Second World War. I don't see that we can simply get rid of those institutions and those conventions that are saying no to the rather draconian approaches that our present government is taking. We need to listen to what other people are saying, particularly people outside our country, particularly people outside our media. We're not just playing to a media circus. We're playing to people who take a bigger view. And I think within that framework, we have to think very seriously about people who are looking at our ethical responsibilities. I'm not thinking so much about Lord Gate here. I find it quite extraordinary that number 10 should need to have a person who monitors number 10's ethics. If you can't monitor your own ethics, why on earth would you be in the top office in the country? Surely the top office, surely being Prime Minister means you are in control of your ethical responsibility. You need somebody else to control that? I find that extraordinary. But there we are. That's the world we're living in. And we should be mindful of the fact that there is somebody at least taking the larger view. But is he? Is he or was he? I don't know. I don't know is the answer. But that should be his responsibility, or that should be her responsibility. Whoever takes over the place of Lord Gate needs to take the bigger view. Not the Conservative view, not the Labour view, not the Liberal view, but the bigger view. And the same thing has to go for judges who are looking at the issue about asylum. It's not about deterring people smugglers. It's about ensuring that people who have suffered, people who are victims, are no longer victimised, and are certainly not victimised by our country. If that gives the wrong impression to people smugglers, well, so be it. We should not be changing our standards because there are foul people doing criminal things and behaving badly. We should have simple, clear standards of behaviour that should not be compromised by criminals. That was the principle, if you remember, that Thatcher took with those people who were planting bombs in the hotel in Brighton. We do not deal with terrorists. We do not negotiate with criminals. If we are going to start tagging victims because we are trying to deter smugglers, then we are effectively negotiating with criminals. We are trying to send a message through some extraordinarily complex process to criminals. There should only be one message: that right will prevail and wrong will not. And that we will be consistent and clear. If somebody has a reason to appeal to us for asylum, that appeal must be heard. And we're not going to tag them and deport them to other countries because of the way they arrived. They may not be in control of the way they arrived. If they are the people smugglers, God help them. But if they are not, we should. It's as simple as that. It is our duty.